Welcome everybody, welcome to the tomb of illumination. Everything's flat earth here, how I explain the whole model. I've put a post up on Quora, just answering some silly statement or question. You get these flat earth, these globies mocking flat earthers all the time, just making stupid statements. So now and then I go on there and answer them. So I just thought I'd read this out to you because it's quite interesting. I mean, it got me thinking and understanding our realm. It's a freaky thing. When you start to really get your head around it and understand it, it makes sense and it's flipping awesome, you know, the way God's created our realm. So this was the question. If a circle is 360 degrees, how does it make 365 days for the Earth to orbit around the Sun? Ooh, now I've got to think, is this the video I was supposed to be doing? This could be another one. I thought I was talking about the Sun's analemma, but anyway. How do we get to the extra 5 days? Well, actually, that is another video. It goes way back. The ancient Egyptians tell us all about it with Sekhmet. No, Osiris, the whole Osiris story about the moon goddess, or they keep changing names, so it's either Isis or Khonsu. Yeah, Khonsu. How she couldn't give birth for any day of the year. There's only 5 holy days. I think it's in here actually, but we'll read on. Right, so what's the question again? If a circle is 360 degrees, how does it take 365 days for the Earth to orbit around the Sun? Now, all the typical scientists will go, well, what's the connection between the Earth's 360 degrees ball and going around the Sun? If we've got a ball, it can take whatever time it likes to go around the Sun. Revolve around the Sun, right? But I'm going to reveal the actual fact of the matter. So what I've written is, no doubt you have heard all the delusional common man's versions of why we have a 365 day year as opposed to just 360. So allow me to explain the actual truth. Buckle up, because this is not for the simple-minded. I'm about to take you on a journey into the secrets of the universe. A 365 day year is based on the rise and fall of the ecliptic plane, which changes the seasons. At a certain point of the year, it will reach a balance between the 2 different seasons. One will bring the northern hemisphere's winter, say, and the southern hemisphere's summer, or vice versa. This point of equilibrium is at the Sun's crossing of its analemma. Okay, I should have read this again myself. So 365 days based on the rise and fall of the ecliptic plane, which changes the seasons. So the change in seasons is what we govern our year on, isn't it, basically? Or solstice to solstice. At a certain point of the year, it will reach a balance between the 2 different seasons. One will bring the northern hemisphere's winter, say, and the southern hemisphere's summer, or vice versa. This point of equilibrium is at the Sun's crossing of its analemma. Okay? So, we need to understand that analemma. So, where are we going to draw the analemma? So there's the analemma. Okay, it's this point here. There's a crossing there of the Sun's analemma. And realise the equinox is down here. I'm going to find out this difference here, see? This point of equilibrium is at the sun's crossing of its analemma. So this is basically when the seasons are changing. Why? Because that point there is actually right here on the Tropic of Cancer. You go online, some silly so-and-so is going to put on the Tropic of Capricorn down there, that crossing. But no, you see the smaller field, there's a smaller field in the flat earth system, and out here you got the wider field of the southern hemisphere, right? But where's this tropical gap on this analemma? That's the secret. Okay, bear with me. This point of equilibrium is at the sun's crossing of its analemma, the 6th day of September, known as the 6th day of creation in the religious story of Christ, or Genesis. Now you go online, they won't tell you that that is on the 6th of September. Why? Because they don't want you connecting this to religion. They just go off on a tangent, they divert you. It's this, when you start asking a few other questions regarding this whole system, you put in your question and they're dodging the issue all the time. And this brings you back to that, why they call NASA never a specific answer. And it's a perfect example when you start looking into this. Okay? So you can look into it after you've finished my video if you want. So the 6th day of September, known as the 6th day of creation. From this day forward, there are 5 days of balance that do not affect the seasonal changes or have the ecliptic plane tilting. That's the equilibrium. Okay? Now, at this point, equilibrium is in September the 6th, right? September the 6th. It cannot happen the other way. It only happens coming down this way into the southern solstice. And even the Egyptians in the Osiris story states that whoever was named the moon was upset that she could not give birth on any other day, and this could not be reversed. Every word is a clue. It cannot be reversed. They're talking about this coming down like this, okay, on its way to the not yet solstice. Just bear that in mind. So because there is no movement in the ecliptic so okay, and science tells us that September the moon is closest to the sun. You think, what the hell does that work? But you know, the average guy's never going to figure that out. I've figured it all out. Why? Because imagine the ecliptic plane is balanced through here, and the moon is always 5 degrees off the ecliptic plane, right? And so the ecliptic plane's level. It hasn't gone down and out. Check out my previous video for the seasonal change, because the moon's still up there. Okay. The other thing is you have to realise there's one sun. It's in the centre here. That's the actual sun, right there in the centre, hidden on the horizon of the black hole, right in the centre here. There's only one sun. We see the images out here on the magnetic field lines as nodal points on the magnetic field as the system, the net crosses, right? They're all images, not the actual sun back here. This is why we can get the seasonal changes and the sun does all this weird stuff out there, but at the end of the day it's only just turning in here. But it's following the magnetic field out here. So at this point the sun, the ecliptic plane, is level. And science tells you that the moon is 5 degrees off the ecliptic plane. Okay? And this ecliptic plane, you know, it it goes down like that. Basically, goes down that curls down like that for the southern hemisphere solstice, and then comes back up this way for the northern solstice. Okay, but at this point it's dead level. It's not level down here at the equinox, which is what I've been doing, saying in a lot of my videos actually. No, see, look at the shape of the sun's analemma. It's just a point between that solstice and that solstice. It's just midway. That's all it is. But the change is actually back here. Okay? I shouldn't draw a straight line through there. It just means, you know, the sun will be there at the that'll be September the 23rd, and when it's going back up, it'll be March the 21st. Okay? So it hasn't altered here at all, right? Level is up there at that crossing. So because there is no movement in the ecliptic plane, because it's dead level here, it's not folding down or moving up, there is no seasonal change between the two hemispheres for those 5 days. Yet the sun is still moving around our flat earth daily, so those 5 days get added to the year. So there's no movement in the season, so it hasn't been added onto the year, because our year is based on the seasons, isn't it? So the sun's just staying flat. It's not going down the ecliptic plane or going up to get to the solstices. It's dead level. There's 5 days of that. Those are the 5 holy days in the Egyptian mythological stories, where the moon can give birth to Nephthys, Osiris, Horus the Elder, and who's the other one? There's 5 of them. Anyway, and that's all connected with spiritual enlightenment, because that's what all the Egyptian information is about. This is why we have to understand the zodiac, because it's all connected to man. Man's awakening, man's son, the son of man. He's the earthly son, he's the son of man. So, between the two hemispheres for those 5 days, yet the sun is still moving around our flat earth daily. So those 5 days are added to the year. This has always been known for thousands of years. The ancient Egyptians wrote about it, calling it the 5 holy days. This is why their year started on the 11th of September, 5 days after the crossing mentioned in all religious script, one way or another. Whether they name this time of the year September or not is beside the point. Globies, well, making a note for globies, the year is based on the length of the seasons of the sun's position, solstice to solstice. So the 6th day of September, add on the 5 holy days, the Egyptian year started on the 11th of September, but you're going to find it hard to find that information, but it's out there somewhere. And like they say, they didn't even call it September back in those days. You know, a bit more to that story, but anyway. So it was the day of creation. It was the day. It's the whole divine story. The day of creation was there, September. So that's when the year would start. The ancient Egyptians knew all this sort of stuff. What have we got here? Whether they named it September or not is beside the point. The year is based on the length, read all that. This crossing of the sun in its analemma takes place 17 days before the equinox. 17 days before it gets down to here. Okay? Before the equinox. Shown at 9 degrees north of 0 degrees on your globe model. It is the sun's analemma that gives us the true ratio between the smaller inner northern hemisphere and the surrounding larger, more broad southern hemisphere, being the 2:3 ratio of a magnetic cycle per meridian. But as individuals with our own arcs of horizon, we stand on a meridian line direct north to south, north being the centre arctic of our flat circular Earth, and south end of the meridian line is direct south from the centre line, being the Antarctic. Anti-north. The Antarctic is the anti-north. It's the mirror image of the north. So what are we getting at here? A meridian. Let's run over that again. We stand on a meridian line. So everyone is on a line between north and south. No matter where he's standing around there, he's on a meridian, north to south. And from between north and south, this is your image. Okay? From there to there. There's south, there's north. That's the meridian. Now, what happens at the solstice? Well, it's halfway between the seasons. That's centre north, remember? So you've got your bit here, you've got a piece here, and you cross over, he's got his bit over there. So it's the northern hemisphere from there to there. Northern from the equator to the centre of the equator there. Northern hemisphere. Or the middle. It actually finishes here. Your star rotation, the northern hemisphere star rotation finishes at Cancer, because nothing crosses the tropics. This is what I'm about to get into, okay? So as a man, this is between the two solstices. So are you going to see the sun? As they tell us, it's sort of about there, in the middle. That has nothing to do with this, is it? No, it's down here. Okay? So a meridian north to south is a nice symmetrical 180 degree arc, which I've just shown you here, over us with an equal division at its centre called the tropics. Equally divided at the tropics, which has a total width of 47 degrees split over the equator. That leaves a remainder of 66.6 degrees either side of the north and southern hemispheres. That's 66.6 degrees, 66.6 degrees. 666 in Revelations, but that's going deep. It is at this dividing gap of the tropics we perceive the sun to be, viewing from within our personal arcs of horizon. So we're all getting an image from within our arcs of horizon. You're not seeing the overall image of what's happening on Earth. You're only seeing it imprinted on your perspective, your arc of horizon, visual perspective. At the equinox, we perceive the sun to be placed at the centre direct above the equator, but in reality this is impossible because nothing crosses the tropics. The sun's analemma does not pass over the tropics. Okay? Where's the tropics here? Where's the big gap? The sun does not pass over the tropic. You see a sun's analemma from the north comes out to the Capricorn, Cancer, Tropic of Cancer, and the southern one comes and stops at the foot of Capricorn. Even all your religious stories talk about this, because this is his feet. These are the feet being washed. Jesus washing their feet. This is classed as the river, the water, whatever, the sea. Remember, in the sun is this is the sun crossed as the sun, and when it crossed on the 6th day of creation, when Jesus died on the cross, there's a hanging, died on the cross, they didn't chop his feet off, they didn't break his legs, because it's carrying on with the season. But in other stories they start talking about washing his feet, because this is his feet down here, and another mythological story about toes, cutting his toes off for some reason. Nothing crosses the tropics. The currents don't cross the tropics. The winds don't cross the tropics. You've got to realize this is the dielectric zone. There's nothing can be in there. So we've all been taught that the sun's analemma is in here, haven't we? And that only appears that way from man's arc of horizon. But it can't be. But that's where the image is going to be seen. There. Even if you check out your star trail photography, if you're doing star trail photography, you get your two rotations like this. There's a gap. The celestial equator, there's a gap. That's where Orion's belt goes through. There's two separate rotations. That gap is the tropical, represents the tropical gap. It's the dielectric zone. All the energy built up is here. All the energy built up here. Capacitor plates. If you understand your computers or computer engineering or electrical engineering. So, look, there's no gap here in the... I don't know if I explained that well, but that's just the way it is. There are always two images of the sun's analemma at once. If you consider a whole year's imaging, every man can film his own personal image of the sun's analemma over the year from within his own personal arc of horizon. Remember, there's always an image reflected out from here. So no matter where you are around the earth, you'll get your north to south images. Image here, you'll get his there, his there, his there. You can film the two rotations because it's all reflected from the centre. There is one in both hemispheres. There's one here, you'll see in the northern hemisphere, and there's one we see in the southern hemisphere. And look, but their feet are aiming towards each other. This can't happen on a ball. They don't explain all that when you go online. This is one of the things I was telling you about. They don't give you a straight answer. They can't explain this on a ball. The whole tilting ball idea. Where are we? There are always two images. There is one in both hemispheres, and both with their broader ends facing their respective tropics. One with its feet touching the line of Capricorn and one with its feet touching the line of Cancer. How does this happen if you live on one spinning ball? Impossible. As all scientists know, the Earth's magnetic field is direct north to south between the tropics. Okay, it's not curving. The magnetic field curves in the southern hemisphere, curves in the northern hemisphere, but it's direct between here because everything stops here and stops there. But because it stopped here and stopped there, there's a direct line. Your compass is direct. It'll aim to this energy here and this energy here. Just depends on which way you have your needle on your compass, because there is a northern and the southern hemisphere compass, you know. So you get a straight line between here. There's no deviation. There's no, sailors will tell you, there's no, what do you call it? You know, alterations for deviation, just a direct straight here. But there's deviations here when you're travelling here, because the magnetic field's curved. That's what you'd be following with the compass, unless you've got a laser gyro. Only perceive, what have we got here? There is no straight line to represent the sun crossing the tropics. Direct north to south or vice versa. What have we got here? As all scientists know, the Earth's magnetic field is direct north to south between the tropics. There is no curvature, or as they say in sailing, no need for any calculations for magnetic deviation. This shows in the sun's analemma. There is no straight line to represent the sun crossing the tropics direct north to south, or vice versa, proving that the sun is not really between the tropics, only perceived that way as man views his surroundings from within his arc of horizon, a nice 180-degree dome of perspective, 360 degrees all around him. Hence why he thinks he sees curvature. If it's going around you like that, you think you're seeing curvature because of the flat plane curving around you like that. People don't think. You know, people who don't use their intelligence are just as good as dumb animals who don't have intelligence at all. It's a good saying, isn't it? Fishermen, they'll swear there's curvature. They don't stop and think. So, the equinox is merely the equal distance between the two solstices, being the full head to toe cycle of the sun's movement in its analemma. So if you go on an earthly scale, it's from there to there. No straight lines in between there, is there? An overall earthly image. We don't see the overall earthly image, but that's basically what it is. One big one like this. But even that doesn't work because, like I say, nothing crosses the tropics. It's just the amazing realm we live in, I tell you. We can... what do we got here? So the equinox is merely the equal distance between the two solstices, being the full head-to-toe cycle of the sun's movement in the analemma, which represents one magnetic cycle of its 2:3 ratio of infinite cycles. Man can only get one image from within his arc of horizon on his direct north to south meridian. However, he can film the image to his east or west, but it will distort the sun's true magnetic cycle image. Earth has two sun cycles. One comes out of the centre north to the Tropic of Cancer via northeast. The other is out of the anti-north, the Antarctic, via southeast. It swings around southeast out here. This one swings around from the northeast. The equinox is our perceived midway point of the yearly seasonal change, but in fact it is the Earth's magnetic cycle midway point between the solstices. Our ecliptic plane is circular and flaps up and down over the air like the wings of a bird, but it spirals up and down in its circular cycles around over our flat Earth daily. Down and out is the southern hemisphere solstice, while up and in is the northern hemisphere solstice. Earth sits fixed and stationary. It is man's arc of horizon that has him seeing things rise and fall. The Earth itself does not bend or curve down. Explaining how the flat Earth torus field works is for another day, but consider that everything expands out from its centre. The clue is everything is relative to the observer. We and everything expands as we move south. So we're always relative to the latitude, whatever's in that latitude. So if you're a certain size there, you're going to be the same size out here relative to your surroundings, just as he is. Relative to his surroundings, you'll be the same here. This is why they've got the top of their ball globe the same as the bottom of their ball globe. They're the same, because this is what happens. We expand, realising that's nothing's physical, everybody. Tesla wrote about this with his mate Mark Twain. Remember, he put his hand under this machine. It's all the vibrating, like basically pixels. We're in this pixel screen. We're projections. So that was that. I hope I explained it well. Not sure if, I don't think people would have got on to that one, but it takes a bit of thought. Okay? Science knows there's two analemmas, one in each hemisphere. You've got to understand your science when it comes to this tropical gap, understanding the capacitance and the dielectric. So you don't see it in here. So